Section 1. You will hear a man phoning to ask about a festival in a town called Beechan. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 6 on page 2. You will see that there is an example that has been done for you. On this occasion only, the conversation relating to this will be played first.
Beechan Festival Office?
Oh, hello. I want to check some details about the festival. I know tickets are running out fast, and I haven't got access to the internet at present. My computer's down.
OK. Well, the first activity is on June the 19th at 7 p.m, and it's a concert with local musicians performing.
Oh, lovely.
The activity on June the 19th is a concert, so concert has been written in the space. Now we shall begin. You should answer the questions as you listen, because you will not hear the recording a second time. Listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 6.
Beechan Festival Office?
Oh, hello. I want to check some details about the festival. I know tickets are running out fast, and I haven't got access to the internet at present. My computer's down.
OK. Well, the first activity is on June the 19th at 7 p.m, and it's a concert with local musicians performing.
Oh, lovely. Is it in the theatre, like last year?
Yes, that's right. And for the next activity, on the 20th, the time's changed.
Is that the tour?
Yes. Now, it does say on the tickets that it's a 3:40 start, but that's an error. There wasn't time to update them, unfortunately, so it should say 4:30 instead. The correct time is on the website, though.
Oh, right. Because one of my friends wants to go on that, to see Beechan with an expert and find out about the town and its history. Does she need to get a ticket in advance?
No, just turn up at the station where the guide will be waiting. They'll start from there, and I think the plan is to stop for a break in the park. And there's no charge for the tour. And the tour will finish with a visit to the 16th century mill where they used to make flour. It's recently been restored.
Fine.
And then on the 21st, there's an all-day event for children.
Oh, that could be good for my visitors. They're bringing theirs, you see.
Right. Well, the plan was to have a painting competition for the kids, but it's now going to be cooking instead, and there'll be prizes for all the different age groups.
Oh, great.
And it's in Beechan Community Centre.
Oh, yes, I know where that is.
They don't need to bring any ingredients, but they'll need to have a plate to put whatever they've made on so they can display it and then take it home.
Sounds good. And are they going ahead with the fireworks in the evening, or is that cancelled? There was an article in the paper after last year's display which suggested it might not be happening again.
That's right. No, that's still on. It's getting more popular each year, and having it in the town square was starting to be a bit difficult because of the numbers, which is why it's next to the river this time. It'll be easy for large numbers of people to get to.
Yes, of course. I'm sure there's lots to look forward to.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 7 to 10 on page 2. Now listen and answer questions 7 to 10.
OK, now, I just want to check how it's going to impact on me as a local resident. I mean, some people last year thought it was too noisy at night.
Yes, I know. And that's why this year, evening events won't go on beyond 11:15. I know previously some activities lasted until 11:45, and the new time applies now to all the events, every evening.
OK.
And another change, perhaps you know about this already, is that because of high visitor numbers, parking in the town centre isn't going to be allowed. It'll be outside town.
Oh, yes, to keep the streets clear, I suppose, for all the visitors. I did know, actually, and it's not really going to be a problem for me.
Right.
I mean, I can just walk into town from my home.
OK. Well, anyway, if you want to check any more details about the festival, once you're back online, you can look at www.events.com. And you'll be able to comment on what activities you enjoyed, and what would really help the organisers would be if people could use the website to give feedback about what they enjoyed and that kind of thing. This will help them plan for next year.
That's probably a good idea. And with pricing, I know local residents...
That is the end of Section 1. You now have half a minute to check your answers.
You will hear a man introducing a skiing resort to a group of listeners. First, you have some time to look at questions 11 to 16. Now listen carefully and answer questions 11 to 16.
Hello all, welcome to Aspen Ski Resort near Cumbria. It is one of my favourite vacation spots. I first discovered this fantastic resort when it was recommended to me by a journalist who was interviewing me. I then contacted my travel agent for further information about the resort, and from the first time I visited the place, it was love at first sight. Now, when I don't have acting jobs to do, I would come here and relax. My parents were both geographers, and their profession afforded my siblings and I the opportunity to travel with them all over the world when we were growing up, visiting some of the places I had seen in the television documentaries I had watched. Their passion kept affecting me, and eventually I realised that travelling has been something I love for a long time. A bit of background on the Aspen Ski Resort. The area of Cumbria was first known as a vacation spot in the 1920s. However, that was only as a summer vacation spot. The area became home to a summer resort in the 1930s. In the 1960s, with the increasing popularity of downhill skiing, the first British ski resort appeared. The Aspen Ski Resort was established soon after in 1968, and the Cumbria area became a popular destination for winter skiing vacations. Although snow skiing is the most popular winter activity at the resort, there are also some other popular activities. In the spring, summer and fall seasons, playing golf is easily the favourite activity of most of the resort's guests. There are 5 top-ranked courses within a short driving distance of the resort, and the resort offers many packages for visitors during the warmer months. Also, throughout the year, many of the resort's guests like to visit the Great Waters Brewing Company. But it is under reconstruction at the moment. Also, many of our visitors take advantage of skydiving activities offered by a skydiving school, but the school is located in another town, which is about a 2-hour drive from here. Some people ask what activities are recommended in the nearby Edinburgh region. Many visitors to that popular destination often also visit either the hot springs near the city of Marlborough or the local market in the city of Jamestown. The hot springs are geothermally heated groundwaters that rise from the crust of the earth and are enjoyed by folks of all ages. However, the price of having a hot spa there is quite high this season. The Edinburgh Nature Museum is a great alternative. You will see details of the animals which are native to the area. Most visitors in the past gave really positive feedback about the museum. The market in Jamestown region has a nice selection of fruits and vegetables which are grown on farms in the area, and also a selection of fresh seafood. The market is not open this week. Please note that the Aspen Resort sponsors monthly education and entertainment programs which are open to the public. Previous programs have featured mountain walking in Europe and wildlife around the world. The upcoming entertainment program, which will take place at 7 p.m. May the 18th in the resort's conference centre, will be about the landscape of the United Kingdom. These events are free to those attending, but seats are available on a first-come, first-served basis.
Before you hear the rest of the talk, you have some time to look at questions 17 to 20. Now listen and answer questions 17 to 20.
Finally, let me outline what some of the Cumbria area's other skiing locations are popular for. Lakeside is the oldest of the area resorts. Its popularity barely decreases over the years, and it was recently renovated. A newly built ski school there has attracted some attention, and it will be open to the public within a couple of months. Petersburg is well known as a training site for skiing teams. It's the home training base for Olympic champion Billy Randolph. Winterton is a resort that is well known as a place for inexperienced skiers. It has many different bunny hills for new learners, and it doesn't require any good equipment. Al Slops is a resort that will provide you with some special service. They have a certified staff that will care for your kids while you are on the slopes. For people who want to enjoy the beauty of nature, as well as having some exciting activities, these places are.
That's the end of section 2. You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Part 3.
Study options. You will hear a professor talking to her student about his study options. Before you listen, you have 30 seconds to read questions 21 to 24.
Come in, Rangi.
Thank you, Professor Anderson.
I've been meaning to contact you, but I just got back last night.
Where have you been?
Conferences in Massachusetts and New York.
For physics?
Yes.
Great. I'm looking forward to attending conferences one day.
I imagine that won't be so far away. I was extremely impressed with your classical mechanics exam. In fact, you were one of only 2 students out of 180 to get an A+.
Wow. I really did enjoy the course.
So how can I help you?
I'm sorry to say it's a bit of a long story. You see, I've had to rethink my studies completely, and I wonder if I'm making the right decision.
You're doing 2 degrees, aren't you? Science and arts.
I was doing 2. I've decided to focus on science.
Oh?
It all came about because I wanted to study abroad for a year. I was thinking about Edinburgh. Firstly, I sought approval from the maths and physics departments. I wanted to take quantum mechanics and computer simulations at Edinburgh.
Those are 3rd-year courses, right?
Yeah. So I received approval from maths and physics. The stumbling block was the higher authority, the science faculty. When I submitted my application, it was rejected.
What?
It turns out that students who study abroad for a year can only do 1st or 2nd year courses or 3rd year courses in a subject that's not their major.
I've never heard that before.
Needless to say, the lecturers who approved my transfer hadn't either, and nor does the regulation appear on the science faculty website.
That'd be right. This faculty is disorganised.
So then I thought I'd take arts courses at Edinburgh and leave the 3rd year maths until I came back. I quickly got approval for 2nd year history and philosophy from the arts faculty.
When are you heading off?
That's just it. During this process, I began to think carefully about my studies. To be honest, the arts courses I've done were less challenging than the science ones, so I've decided to drop arts.
Before you listen to the rest of the conversation, you have 30 seconds to read questions 25 to 30.
Where do I figure in all this?
The first week after I'd made my decision, I felt fine. Without doing the arts courses, I could finish my science degree earlier. But this week, I've had some doubts. When I started the 2 degrees, lecturers in the science faculty assured me that these days scientists need a rounded education, which they get if they take some arts courses. I was even told I'd learn to write and think better if I did philosophy.
I do think the claims made by some lecturers are dubious.
Then there's the fact that now I'm going to be stuck here next year. I was so excited about going to Europe.
It is disappointing to give that up. Still, the reason I wanted to contact you, Rangi, is that I'm looking for students to work 6 hours a week in my lab. It's paid work, not highly paid, but probably better than I'm working in a bar. Also, we've just bought a new laser, which you'd learn to use.
That sounds excellent.
As to going abroad, why not do your postgraduate studies in the US? There's some amazing physics being done in Massachusetts. If you like, I can send you the papers from the conference.
Thanks.
Of course, I'd be sad to lose you if you did go abroad, but an A+ student like you has a very good chance of winning a major scholarship.
Goodness, I've never even considered that.
Personally, I think committing yourself to science is the way to go.
Thanks, Professor Anderson. You've taken a load off my mind. Now I don't have to deal with Hegel or Leibniz. I've plenty of time to read those conference papers.
That is the end of part 3. You now have 30 seconds to check your answers to part 3.
Section 4. You will hear part of a linguistics lecture about a language called Bishlama that is spoken in the Pacific Islands. First, you have some time to look at questions 31 to 40 on page 7. Now listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 40.
Good morning and welcome back to this series of linguistics lectures. Today, I will be talking about the language Bishlama, which is a form of Pidgin English. Linguists use the term pidgin to describe new languages that are created by combining two or more existing languages, often in a simplified form. The study of pidgin languages is important because it provides us with information about language change and modification. The pidgin English known as Bishlama is used in the South Pacific nation of Vanuatu, a group of islands where 81 first languages are still regularly used by the local people. There are a further 17 local languages that are in danger of dying out and 8 that have been identified as extinct. This gives a total of 106 first languages in all, a very high number for a small country with a population of just 200,000 people. Then thinking about foreign languages, English is the most important and has official status largely because it is the medium for all education purposes. However, it is Bishlama that is the most widely spoken language in the country, used regularly by more than 90% of the population. We should note here that in earlier times some people had negative feelings towards the language. In fact, for many years it was commonly referred to as a broken language and its use was discouraged. But attitudes have changed dramatically and today the people of Vanuatu are very proud of this unique language. It is only when we understand the historical context that we can comprehend just why Bishlama developed in Vanuatu. The first form of Pidgin English in this region can be traced to around 1800, when foreign traders arrived and local people were recruited to work as sailors. On board multilingual ships, there was an obvious need for a common tongue and Pidgin English was born. This early form of Bishlama continued to spread as trade in the Pacific developed in sandalwood and other local commodities. Then from about 1860, a lot of people from Vanuatu travelled to Australia to work on the new plantations as labourers. Again, because of the multilingual nature of these workplaces, it was very important to have a common language. Finally, in modern times, there have been other pressures that have maintained the need for a common language. Like many other parts of the world from about the 1950s, Vanuatu experienced a significant migration of its people from small villages into the city, and it has been here that Bishlama has really established itself as the country's first language. So then, how can we describe the language itself? In general terms, Pidgin languages can be defined as extremely simple versions of the original language. However, this is not a satisfactory definition in this case, and linguists prefer to describe Bishlama as a developed Pidgin because it has more rules and ideas than most simple Pidgin languages found in other parts of the world. Let's think first about the vocabulary. Because Britain was the colonial power, the majority of Bishlama's vocabulary is derived from English. However, some care needs to be taken here. For example, the word from in Bishlama can also mean because of, so we need to be aware that words can have a wider range of meanings in Bishlama. Indeed, there are numerous other potentially misleading terms, and English is not the only contributor to the vocabulary. Again, because of the region's history, there are some words, around 5 to 10%, that are derived from French. Then, a relatively small number of words have been taken from local Pacific languages. Usually this is the case where there is no English equivalent for naturally occurring phenomena or to describe some aspect of the culture that is unique to the country. Finally, a word about grammar. Although the vocabulary is based largely on English, it's important to note that the grammatical structure of Bishlama is derived from patterns common in the local languages of Vanuatu. So, for example, there are two distinct pronouns meaning we. One means I and you, and another means I and some others, but not you. Sounds confusing in English, but in the local languages, such distinctions are common. A different example concerns the word long. It is almost the only preposition in Bishlama and may be used in place of a whole range of English words such as at, to, with, on, in, and so on. Well, that is the end of the formal part of the lecture. If you have any questions now, I'll be most happy to answer.
That is the end of Section 4. You now have half a minute to check your answers. That is the end of the listening test. You now have 10 minutes to transfer your answers to the listening answer sheet.